Welcome to Shore Time. It is Shore Time with Vin and Dave, 94.3 The Point, 105.7 The Hawk here on Sunday morning. We're with you from 6 to 8 a.m., getting your day started, getting your week started. And Dave, what we've been doing lately is getting everybody's summer started.
It is that time. We're getting there. Some great interviews and so many great events and things to look forward to. The weather is getting a little bit better. Yes, a little bit warmer.
Yeah, okay. Especially yesterday. It felt like summer.
So help me out with something here, okay?
All right, I'm here.
Here we go, here we go. So here we are, Ocean and Monmouth County, right? Now, I live in Monmouth County.
Yeah, yep.
But I have family and friends up in Somerset County, right?
Okay.
Not that far away. Let's say 55 minutes, right?
Yeah, give or take, yeah, it's not bad.
Bedminster, Basking Ridge, some towns.
Right.
Like those, okay? I look at the weather, and there are times that there is anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees difference. Now, I'm not a weatherman.
That's crazy.
Is that not nuts? Now, I understand sometimes it could be cooler here. We're by the water.
Well, sure, by the water.
I get the concept. But I'm looking at some upcoming days. 15 degrees difference, I ask you. That should be our next interview with a weatherman. I'm telling you. But
break down how it all works.
Unbelievable. So I've had some friends come down that left the Bedminster area, and it was warm, and then they got down here. It was like chilly and windy, and it's just like a different state. It's crazy. It's like I'm looking forward to the warmer weather. I'm not looking forward to it being maybe 15 degrees hotter. And I think days coming on here. I know today, yesterday was very warm, so.
It's weird. I feel like I've had that conversation with some people too in the last few weeks. I said only in New Jersey, does it look like this gloomy and rainy and like chilly in March and April, and then where the temperatures go from like 50-something degrees one day to like 80, 90 degrees the next. And that's how people get like allergies flaring up with pollen flying around and people getting sick.
It's just funny.
Crazy.
It is crazy because, like I said, and you actually bring up another good point. Forget about the weather difference between, say, Ocean, Monmouth County to, say, even Somerset County.
That's an excellent point as well.
But also the spread of like what we're dealing with, where you look at the forecast and it's going up to, I'm making this up, 70, but then it's 50 something. So what is going on here? That's a big spread. Look at me. I guess what I'm looking forward to is the nicer weather.
Yeah.
The problem is with New Jersey is you go from this weird kind of chilly, getting a little warmer, and then it's hot. And then we're gone. We're off to the races with it being very hot. Now, the other day, it was very weird, and I didn't think this existed. Help me out with this one here.
All right, I'll try.
It was cool out and humid at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Is that possible?
It was weird. It was like walking outside.
I don't remember what day it was, but it was, you could feel the humidity, but you also had a chill to the air.
It was like earlier in the week before it really warmed up. It was like, it felt like a T-shirt, shorts kind of day. And
but then it was cool. I don't know what's going on here. We should have callers. Please tell us
what's the weather like in your town today.
But with that being said, obviously getting the warmer weather, looking forward to it. So many great events. I mean, think about the interviews that we've had, and of course the ones coming up.
Right.
Just it's so exciting. Just not only the beautiful landscape that we have, the beaches and all the good stuff there, but just these various events. And you know what I love? These musical events, different towns with these different bands, and
we know Southside Johnny's playing at the Stone Pony, but that's a great concert and event venue. Of course, with Convention Hall there in Asbury Park, so a lot going on there. You talk about the different venues. Obviously, the PNC Bank Arts Center in Homedale with a lot of great concerts.
Some of these smaller venues.
The Count Basie Theater in Red Bank. The different theaters and venues, Seaside Heights, Point Pleasant Beach. Of course, to the point you just made a moment ago with Lori Pepinell, the Southern Ocean Chamber of Commerce, with Fantasy Island down there, with the different parks and different things to do, different events going on. So it's, we've sort of unlocked that Pandora's box there of like, hey, Ocean, Monmouth County, known for having great beaches
we were cool,
and
I didn't know we were
boardwalks.
this cool. Yeah.
But when you break it down, it's like, oh wow, we have all these different parks. We have these different concert venues, both large and small, comedy clubs. Different things to do indoors on a hot day or a rainy day. There's just so much to do, and it's like we're trying to. I think we said it a couple weeks ago as well. Just like, hey, okay. Try and plan ahead now. Put together a list.
Yeah.
What do you want to do this summer? Where do you want to go locally? And it's certainly a repeated point as well, because it's still an ongoing problem for anybody who drives a car is gas prices going to astronomical levels.
Hop on the train. Well, we're going to talk Point Pleasant.
Shore.
Point Pleasant's got that train to downtown. You've got the ocean one way.
Yeah, they got the transit train that goes right there. So, I mean, you could hop on, you know the train to Point Pleasant Beach.
And I've seen this. I need to get one of these. You know me, I like my bike. Here I go. Everything's nice and flat. Where there's a lounge chair, a beach chair, it's almost like a backpack. Do you know what I'm talking about? It folds up, and you see people on their bikes. Because if you think about it, if you have a bike and you've got a bunch of stuff to carry, you know, it's challenging. But, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I just want to go to the beach, lay down, whatever. Right. And then you have this as like a backpack. And off you go on your bike. Here, as I'm talking to you, I'm actually showing what a bike looks like.
There's like Dave's theme song playing in the background.
But that's super cool. The ability just to do something like that, go to the beach. And again, with Point Pleasant, you know, that's a great example of downtown and the beach. Asbury, downtown, the beach, Belmar. Just so many great things going on. But, you know, if you can avoid hopping in a car, do it. You know, take advantage of different ways to go.
Oh, sure. I mean, listen, yeah, obviously gas prices are an issue. But, I mean, to your point as well, I mean, if you were ever looking for an excuse to be environmentally friendly, ride the bike.
Ride the bike, ride the bus, ride the train.
Carpools or something like that, you know. Go for walks or runs, you know. You got to go to the store and grab, you know, milk or, you know, something quick, you know.
And again, everything
and it's close.
Everything is
just
flat,
go walk.
Flat. I'm telling you,
go for your morning run and go grab breakfast.
There you go. There's so many great things. So, and then of course for people that have boats, I mean, we're good to get out there. I mean, you've had some adventures on some boats there.
Oh yeah, so last year, and I want to talk to Point Pleasant Beach Mayor Paul Knitter about it this morning as well. The Offshore Grand Prix came back last year. Obviously, one of the many things that got postponed in 2020 because of the pandemic. But there was a press conference last year. Mayor Knitter and the guys from the powerboat racing for the Offshore Grand Prix. Angelo was the guy's name. Anyway, but so after the press conference, they talked about what the events were. It was like a whole weekend thing, and it will be again this year, coming up next month. But they were saying, oh, come on, try it out. They were getting Mayor Knitter and I was like, well, I don't know, you know. I said, you know,
but you did it.
Because sometimes on water, it's kind of like that motion sickness.
I get it.
Or I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'll just say, you know, I'm afraid of not fitting because I'm tall, which, you know, was a small truth there. So I was like, and Paul Knitter, the mayor in Point Beach, is about our height. So I'm like, all right, well, so he went in there first. He tried it out. Okay. He went racing around. So I'm like, all right. So if he can go in there and do it, I guess I might as well give it a shot.
And how was it? Was it like...
It was like nothing I've ever experienced before, you know? So obviously the go-karts, those tracks and those mini boats, like theme parks or whatever else, it's like... It's sort of like, that was like a minor version compared to this. This was an actual speedboat, power boat right there on the inlet between Point Pleasant Beach and Manasquan.
Okay, wow.
So you got in there. Obviously, you know, for novices like us, they weren't going to just let us hop in there and say, hey, go have fun.
Sure.
They had somebody controlling the throttle, sort of like operating the gas and brakes, if you will.
Okay.
Sitting in the left seat. And then you would hop in. Almost like the way you go down is, and not that I've ever been in a submarine, is kind of like going down that way. So you kind of had to like climb in there.
Okay.
I didn't have to scrunch up the legs too much, you know, so that I wouldn't avoid hitting my head on the top. You get in there, you're strapped, you know, like a full safety belt kind of vest type deal.
With the kind of speed that
and then it's like you're sitting there, you're like looking up. I'm like, I see the sky, a little bit of the water here. It's like, where are we going?
How fast are you going?
I forget how much we were going that day, you know, just for a little ride. But there's like different types of boats that can do different speeds. I think some can go in the 50 to 80 mile an hour range. Some can go like fast. 100 to 120 miles per hour. We weren't doing that fast. But I want to say it was probably like 80, 90 miles an hour or so that we were going in these boats.
Especially on a boat.
And so like the guy next to us is like operating the brakes and gas and whatnot. And you're sitting there with like the steering wheel kind of thing. So you're like driving, like in the inlet.
So is it like kind of like tilted up the boat? Because you're going so it's not a straight. Okay.
Right. So then it's like, and it's not as easy as you think. You know, driving a car, you want to keep the steering wheel, you know, straight. This way you head in a straight direction. But you do that with like the boat, it kind of like turns. So you almost got to kind of keep and I'm far from an expert on this, so I'm just kind of going off my experience, just kind of keep it kind of like at a 90-degree angle or so.
Interesting.
And then the guy's like, all right, going, for the most part, you're going smooth. He's like, all right, turn left. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, sure, why not?
turn right.
My fear was that it would be so sensitive that the slightest turn would make the boat, go, you love the sound effects. You know what I mean? Like in a direct, like kind of like off quickly to one side.
And I have a video I put up a video because I covered the press conference and everything last year as well, just of what the whole ride was like. So
wow.
Mayor Knitcher helped me out by taking some video and pictures of me getting into the submarine, and then I brought the camera with me, just kind of had it attached,
right,
of what the ride was like.
Okay.
So I took some video. I didn't put the whole thing on there. I don't want people to get motion sickness watching me ride around the Manasquan Inlet, but enough to where you can kind of get a sense of what it looked like.
Too.
Just kind of like a little bit.
I mean, a boat like,
and this was like beginning of June last year too.
Okay.
So I mean, the waters were still kind of settling in, if you will.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a video up on our Facebook pages for our radio station and the 92.7 WOBM YouTube channel as well. And then I left it at the end of the video where you can kind of hear the roaring of the engine on that boat.
Oh, those engines are intense.
It's like, to hear the, go-karts, whatever, to hear the engine on this boat, it's like, wow.
You're not fooling around.
It's like you want to feel like hopping. I want to get in there now.
I don't have as good a boating story. I'll give you one, a scary one.
That is my own.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I've been on the River Lady a couple times, but that's not a speedboat.
The best one I can get you is on a boat on the other side of the Point Pleasant Canal. I've got to go toward Brick. So let's say I'm in near Brielle. Okay.
Right.
Now, the weather's coming in quick. And it's one of these, do I wait it out, let the rain hit, and then go, or do I try and beat the weather? Dave Crossan says, let's beat the weather.
Why not?
Single engine boat, so they're not easy to maneuver, right? I start going into the Point Pleasant Canal, and if you know the Point Pleasant Canal, it moves a lot.
Right.
Okay, and especially with a single engine boat, you don't have a lot of control with that boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm in it, and it's coming down like you read about. Boom, the rain, everything, the wind. And all I could do was go as fast as I could with the boat, because with the more speed that I was going, the faster I was going,
right,
the more control I have of the boat. Where if you slow up, then you're going to get slapped around. So all I could do is drop the throttle, go as fast as I could, and get through it. And of course, once I get through it, I get to the other side. Then, of course, the weather calms down. I'm like, okay, I couldn't have waited maybe 20 minutes, but it is what it is. That was very scary, because my biggest fear is if I didn't go fast enough, I could be thrown to one of the sides, lose control. But I made it.
There you go.
What a scary adventure.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, that's a great story, though. It's a story you're going to pass on for years.
Of course. I'll make it a little bit more dramatic, too. Well,
so there I was.
The people are looking at me.
Thunder and
Be careful.
The boat was rocking.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll get a good boat story or two, hopefully. We'll ask Point Pleasant Beach Mayor Paul Knitcher about the upcoming Offshore Grand Prix and everything going on this summer in Point Pleasant Beach, from the beaches to the boardwalk to all the different restaurants and businesses. So lots going on this summer in Point Pleasant Beach. And then coming up next, we have three people here from Hope Sheds Light: Steve Willis, Ron Rosetto, and Pam Capaci, who are going to be talking about all the good work that they do to help people find recovery from the disease of drug addiction. So a lot of great stuff coming up on deck today. Short Time with Vin and Dave, 94.3 The Point, 105.7 The Hawk, from 6 to 8 a.m. Short Time continues next.
Hi, this is Christy Pierce-Rampone, former U.S. women's soccer team captain, Olympic gold medalist, World Cup champion, and Point Borough High School alum. And you're listening to Shore Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. Tune in for some real conversation with Dave and Vin. You don't want to miss this.
Whether you're in the early stages of investing, getting ready to retire, or planning your estate, you need a financial planner who will guide you on a clear path with honesty and transparency. Shoreline Wealth Management understands that you are more than your money, and they strive to help you realize your best life as they align your finances with your goals. Best of all, Shoreline's straightforward approach will include you in the process. Shoreline Wealth Management is your financial anchor. Visit shorelinewealth.com for more information. Shorelinewealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
Welcome back to Short Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Ebenau, Dave Crossan with you here in hour number one of the show. And we've got a special treat, a trio of guests here in hour number one. Ron Rosetto, Steve Willis, and Pam Capaci from Hope Sheds Light here in Toms River, helping people in Ocean and Monmouth County find hope and recovery. So before we dive into the weeds here, I want to say welcome to all three of you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having us.
We appreciate it. Thanks.
So we want to talk about certainly your mission, all the different events, speaking engagements you guys do, and certainly sharing your personal stories as well. But Ron and Steve, to you guys first, as co-founders who certainly have, seen what the battle through this disease of addiction is like. How did Hope Sheds Light come to be, and in finding this and trying to help others?
Go ahead, Ron.
My son had passed away, my son Mark Rosetto, in 2012. And he'd been struggling with addiction for probably 15 years, if not longer. And, the typical in and out of rehabs, detox centers, and just trying to get him help. And, the typical, a parent enabling their child, trying to fix what was wrong. And we just lost control. I mean, between his addiction with pills, and then eventually it led to opiates and heroin, which ultimately killed him. And when he died, unfortunately, I was away for a week in Florida, and I got the call that my son had passed away, and I believe it was like the day before Thanksgiving. And trying to get home was just a nightmare. But the struggle is certainly real, and, we didn't want to see any other parent have to go through the years of pain and struggle like we did. Myself, Steve Willis, and our other co-founder, Arvo Prima, all three of our sons had passed away, unfortunately. And it's just a horrible family disease, that just doesn't affect the addict. It affects the entire family. And, we were sick for many years, going up and down like a roller coaster. My son was living with me for a while, for some time, and eventually I stopped enabling him and changed the locks and asked him to leave. And, soon after that, he had passed away. Unfortunately, I had two sons that were both addicted, but the hope side of the story is he's been clean now for 14 years and is successful. I'm extremely proud of him. He's doing great. But I lost my other son because he just, wouldn't do what was necessary, to help his disease. And, that's the gist of it. I mean, obviously I could talk for hours, but that's the basic premise of, our life with Mark.
And, Vin, when after Ron's son, Mark, died, he called me, and then he called Arvo. But one of the questions he asked me early on, he said, Steve, did you have any idea what was what to do when your son and you became a mess? And my journey with addiction started when my son was 13 years old, 12, 13. He would be 40 now. And we didn't really know what to do. We didn't know what resources were available. We were kind of flailing around trying to find help. And when Ron called and he said, help me start a nonprofit, I asked him what he had in mind, of course, and he said, well, let's provide a list of resources to the community so that people don't have to worry or, wonder where to go if they're struggling with addiction, if they're getting sick themselves, right? And so the original idea was to create a website that would list inpatients and outpatients and support groups and family therapists. And in my work as an attorney and, again, my journey with addiction with my son, I had a whole lot of different resources that we were working with, a lot of different programs. So, but neither Ron nor Arvo and I knew anything about creating a website. So we started to talk about this idea with people smarter than us, and wonderful business folks came around and gave us money and helped us start the website. And then Hope, I said to both Ron and Arvo, I said, and we just agreed. I said, we need to do more than just list, create a list. We need to actually answer the phone when people call. Hope really does exist because Ron and Arvo and I got really, really sick. We talk about the journey with our sons and how sick they got, and ultimately they died, unfortunately. But this is a family disease. I say it because we got really sick as parents. My story is that I tried to fix my son. I spent the first year when he started using it, 13, trying to fix him, and that's what parents do, right? But when I was so focused on fixing him that I wasn't paying attention to other aspects of my life that kept me healthy, like my dear wife and my daughter and my business as counsel. None of that seemed to matter because Mark was so sick, and I believed early on, without learning about addiction, that I had the power to fix him because the first 12 years as a dad, I was okay at it, right? And it seemed to be okay, but nothing worked, and it was horrible. It was horrible, and I think any family member, any parent or grandparent, friend, spouse going through this, will understand what we're talking about. So, I said, not only do we need a website, but we agreed together that we needed to develop a helpline, and where we would answer the phone and be able to help direct individuals to get, help, with their addiction. And then we said, that because this affects everybody, we need to start a family meeting. And Hope Sheds Light, our mission is to raise awareness and to educate individuals and families in the community about the disease of addiction. How? By sharing our personal experiences, by sharing our strength and our wisdom, and by providing hope and resources that lead to the long-term recovery of the whole family. This is a family thing, and I'm really very proud of how it's evolved. For the first few years, it was just the three knuckleheads, as I call us, trying to
and look where you've gone now.
Oh my God! Trying to do this thing together. We're talking to businesses. We're doing, lecturing to doctors and nurses, and in schools, and the message. The message resonated, and we've been very blessed to be able to help individuals and families, and we continue to do it every day. But we realized that we needed help. We needed people who were so much smarter than us, and that's where Pam comes in. And Pam is just like so awesome. I mean, she is awesome.
She's shaking her head.
Well, yeah.
She is awesome.
Well, we needed each other.
I think Pam needs to take over here and tell you. Yeah.
Pam, please. How did you get involved, and what do you hope to try and help in spreading this mission?
Thank you. So, thanks. Steve and Ron are like my biggest cheerleaders all the time.
Yay!
I know. It's like if I need an ego boost, I come to these guys. But actually, I've been in the field across the full continuum, both providing treatment services as a substance abuse counselor back in the beginning of my career. Spent a long time as the CEO of a large prevention agency up in Union County, which is where I was working when I was introduced to Ron, Arvo, and Steve. A friend of mine was on the board at the time, and she said, listen, these guys need some help. They've kind of reached a crossroad. They've done an amazing thing, and they have this huge following and momentum, and families are coming out, but they really don't know how to build a nonprofit agency, and that's really what I had an expertise in. So I came down and met with them and interviewed, and I had this great career in Union County. I built an organization. I opened a recovery high school. I wasn't expecting to leave that job, but then I met Ron, Steve, and Arvo, and the honesty and integrity and just pure passion about what they were doing, and not only that, I went to a family meeting, and there were 40, 50 people coming out on a Tuesday night to get what these guys were giving. And in all of my career, to get family members to come out for an education program or a support program was like pulling teeth. As bad as the problem is, people don't have time. There's all the stigma and fear associated with going to anything that has drug and alcohol attached to it. Nobody wants to be seen there. And yet these guys managed, knuckleheads as they refer to themselves, they managed to have all these families out. And then I went to the walk.
Yeah, right.
And the walk had 1,200, 1,500 people on the boardwalk. And I just was like, I need what they're doing. I need to understand better what they're doing to reach the community. So,
well, let me help it a little here too. Okay, when we first interviewed Pam, I had never, I think I know something about substance abuse, and and I'm proud of what I do, I have to say. And we interviewed her, and I was just amazed listening to all the knowledge, and I said, she's the one. Because I'm a prayer too, and I prayed a lot about it, and I figured that she's it. I said, right, Ron?
Yes,
they said, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what she said? No. She said no at first. I said, oh, crap. But then, as she's just said, she hung around, and she watched, and she came to the family meetings, and she came to our walk. And, pre-COVID, we had thousands of people coming to our walk, and she did say, she did say that in all the years she's been doing this, the group that we were serving and the number of people that we've been able to serve, even being knuckleheads, was impressive. And so with God's grace, she has stayed with us and helped this business grow tremendously, so that we're able to serve so many people in so many ways, which Pam can talk about too.
You bring up a great point where, in the past, people go into these meetings not wanting to be seen at these meetings, that people are a little bit more, I would say a lot more willing to put themselves out there, especially when they're talking with people that have been through something similar and similar stories to share.
I think that's part of the magic of Hope, is you have three very prominent businessmen who put their face to this issue. Not back then, not your typical face. Unfortunately, as the epidemic has evolved, it has become more and more the typical face. But at the time, they took the risk of, exposing themselves, so to speak, and their businesses and their standing in the community to say, this has happened to me. And because they did that, other people felt safe and comfortable to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the initial outreach that all three of us had, continuing not sponsorships, but partnerships with the community, partnerships with the Toms River Police, Manchester, all the other surrounding communities, talking to the schools, the hospital, mental health facilities that were in the area. They just trusted us. And because of those synergies, I think that helped us grow. And the people that originally started coming to our meetings, it wasn't just about the addiction, it was about family support. And I know sitting in some of the meetings, sitting next to a grandmother or a mother, they're worried about their daughter or their granddaughter or their husband. And I think that their faith and them seeing not only the love and the support of the group, it just caught on. And I think that was the success of the family meetings and continued today.
Ron, Steve, and Pam, Dave and I have to go to a quick break, but we want to dive into more of your stories, but more of the events and ways that you help out the community. Can the three of you hang out with us a little bit longer?
Sure will.
Sure. If you order us pizza, we will. No, just kidding.
There we go.
Only kidding.
We're going to get some coffee going the whole bit.
Yeah, there we go. A little pizza and coffee here on Sunday morning. More Short Time with Vin and Dave right after this.
Hello, this is Chef David Burke on Short Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. And if you could see us, you'd know the three of us have perfect faces for radio.
Whether you're in the early stages of investing, getting ready to retire, or planning your estate, you need a financial planner who will guide you on a clear path with honesty and transparency. Shoreline Wealth Management understands that you're more than your money, and they strive to help you realize your best life as they align your finances with your goals. Best of all, Shoreline's straightforward approach will include you in the process. Shoreline Wealth Management is your financial anchor, committed to helping you weather life's storms. Visit shorelinewealth.com for more information today. Shorelinewealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome back to Short Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Ebenau, Dave Crossan with you here on Sunday morning. And with us is Ron Rosetto, Steve Willis, and Pam Capaci from Hope Sheds Light, sharing their stories and their mission and how they help the community here during this ongoing drug epidemic, helping people find hope, find recovery, and helping us all to raise awareness and education in our communities. You guys talked, shared your personal stories as well. Ron, I want to go back to one of the things you said in the first segment as well. How difficult of a decision was it to lock the doors or change the locks to the house and provide or give that sort of tough love?
No, it was very difficult. I mean, it took years. Any parent that loves their child is going to enable, and you're going to try to do whatever you can, which we did between detox centers and rehabs, and just that lasted for years. And then finally what happens is you just get worn down and you run out of money. You're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to save your child. You're refinancing your house trying to save your child to get him into one more rehab because maybe this is it. This is the secret. Maybe he'll, cure himself. The ignorance that I had in the beginning, look, I was like any other parent. You love your child. You want to help them and get them back on track again. And when I came to that decision, I changed the locks and I basically threw my son out of the house. I said, you can't live here anymore. You're not welcome. You were stealing from your mother, your grandmother. You're not going to be doing drug deals out your bedroom window in the middle of the night. I've had it. Police used to come to my house at 3 o'clock in the morning, knocking on my door. And you wake up, and when you look out the window and you see, 2 police officers at your front door, you think your child overdosed. And you catch your breath, open the door, and just hope that they're not going to tell you, I'm sorry, your son passed away. And I just couldn't live like that anymore. So when I did lock the door and threw him out, he was living somewhere else. I don't know where. It could have been the street, could have been, an apartment with friends. And we didn't talk for probably months. And finally, he started to come around. I think he might have been either taking methadone or Suboxone, and he was okay for a few months. And after that, I just noticed, he went back to his old ways again. And it was scary. And I said, Mark, you're high. No, I'm not. How do you know an addict's lying? They open their mouth. And at that point, it was just all downhill until I got that phone call, that he overdosed and passed away. My younger son, when I asked him to leave, 6 months later, there was a knock on the door, and it was my younger son. And he said, Dad, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm tired of it. I want to have a life. And that was 14, 15 years ago. Today, he's married, has 2 beautiful daughters. He has a career. I'm extremely proud of what he's done because that was not easy. But he did it, and thank God he did it, and that's the hope side of it.
I think it's important for the listeners to hear that, asking somebody to leave, letting somebody stay, the outcome is not predictable. Mm-hmm. The disease is not something that a parent can control. And the decision, unfortunately, as to how long you want to stay in the chaos of active addiction versus, not staying in it is personal and can take 10 years, can take, never. And I think what we do at our family support meetings is allow other family members just to share their experience, their strength, and their hope regarding that process. Some parents never ask their kids to leave, and they come home. We have parents who've come home and found their children dead on their couch. And we've had parents who've never asked their kids to leave, and their kids are in long-term recovery. The narrative here needs to be more about what we have to do to advocate for a better system of care. And I think that's what Hope Sheds Light really was started for. These guys didn't even realize what they were doing, but they were introducing a new resource, a peer-to-peer family and individual organization driven by individuals who just have lived experience. They're not clinicians. Right. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to tell you to do one thing or another. They're going to put their arms around you, say, hey, I've been there, and give you a place to feel safe to talk openly without the shame. And that starts the family's journey in recovery.
It does. My experience was, different than Ron's in that when addiction became prominent in my home with Mark, again, he was 13 years old. So legally, I couldn't kick him out, right? So for anybody that may be listening that has, juveniles in the home that are struggling or grandchildren, what I ended up doing when it became very clear in my life that nothing I did as a dad was going to work. Mark wasn't listening at all when he was actively using. He dropped out of sports and school and, wasn't going to church with us and just wasn't listening, period. It became really, really scary. What I ended up doing personally was pressing charges against my son. Very unpopular thing, I'm sure, to do those years ago and probably still now. But my reasoning was simple. It started with the fact that I love my son very much. But it was so clear that I couldn't effectuate a meaningful consequence to help him get well. Whatever I did didn't work, right? So I'm an attorney by trade, and I knew the legal system, and I thought, well, I need some help. So by pressing charges against my son because for, possession, there were drugs in my house, he was breaking up my things, he was stealing from us, my reasoning was that if I couldn't affect change, maybe the legal system could. Because if Mark said no to a judge who ordered him to get some help, what would happen, I thought. And I asked the judge to do that. I said, Judge, what would you do if Mark doesn't go to treatment? If you believe treatment is necessary, what will you do? And the judge said, well, there's going to be a consequence that he may not like jail or something. I said, And she said, you don't want him to go to jail, do you? I said, not for a moment. Of course not. I love him. But my son was so sick, and he was getting sicker and sicker, and I was getting sicker. My family was getting sicker because we were not in control of our health and our thinking and our lives. So as long as my son was structured by the legal system, by the way, he started to get better because he really didn't like the consequence, like going to jail. He didn't like that. And it worked for a bit, at least for my son. We've heard stories where parents will say, well, jail didn't work for mine. Well, you know what? What I do know is that people will change when it's too painful to stay to stay where you are. That's why I needed to change, by the way, as a dad. I was so sick and I was so unhappy, and that's not me. And I said, I needed to get healthy, which led me to stop trying to figure this out by myself, to trying to fix my son, control him, or cure him, because you can't do that with this disease. I went to the rooms. I found myself in the rooms with God's Grace of Al-Anon, where I met people who were similarly situated to me, who seemed to be a lot happier than me, and they were telling stories even though their kids were sick. And I thought, well, how can you be happy, I asked them, when your kids are sick? And they just said, well, we love them, but we know we're important too. Family members are important too, and our health is important, right? So it became clear to me that I needed to find my own recovery, whether or not my son was going to get well, and thankfully I did. So, for a long time, even before Hope, I started to tell my story because it was cathartic to me. It was helpful to me to be able to share the pain and the journey. And invariably, people would come up afterwards in this, whatever, a small or large group, and say, hey, we're going through it too. And that is a part of the magic of Hope, in that we have the courage to share what we know. We know what works, and we know what doesn't necessarily work. But as Pam said, everybody's in a different place. We do know everybody in the family needs to recover themselves. We help with that process. Hope is love, is what it is. It's based on love and experience, and we're very proud of what we do. It's fun.
As this drug epidemic has certainly changed over the years as well, and I think perhaps in some ways got more dangerous with the availability of availability of things like heroin and meth and LSD and crack cocaine and just so many different drugs. I mean, this is a question for everybody in there, Ron, Steve, or Pam. How do you have that conversation with your son or daughter in today's kind of society? How do you help them find treatment? You both mentioned different ways that you try to work with your son or sons, but how do you encourage parents who are struggling now to find their sons, their daughters' help with just so many temptations, so much going on out there right now, and the availability of so many different kinds of drugs that are cheaper than they used to be? Well,
look, I think a good start in what Steve and Arvo and I tried to start in the beginning with a website. Visit Hope Shed's website, and you'll see a list of resources. You'll call Pam and the volunteers that we have, and they're absolutely amazing. You have a recovery center. I mean, the resources are now there. I mean, Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, there must be over 40 volunteers at Hope now?
We have at least 40 volunteers. I also feel it's important for parents to educate themselves. We can use marijuana as an example, and it's legal now, but it's not your mom and dad's marijuana anymore. The THC levels are 60, 90%, depending on the type of, if you're using a vape or a wax or a dab, it could be as high as 90%. Parents have to learn about that. They can't just assume they know what pot is like, because it's not the same. And they can't kind of take the reefer madness approach to the conversation. They need to really engage their teenager in a dialogue, a back and forth dialogue. And there are classes, actually. We offer some training in motivational interviewing style, or how to be non-confrontational and have an open exchange and allow their teens to sort of come to that understanding by guiding them to the aha moment for themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do with marijuana, but also you referenced how dangerous the drugs are. It's just a fact. They can just, take them to any news police blotter. Fentanyl is killing people. Mm. It's in prescription drugs. I mean, you can no longer just take a pill from your friend because you have a headache, because that pill could be fake, a synthetic form of the drug you think you're taking, and it's actually almost pure fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing oftentimes in the news now, people are unintentionally dying from fentanyl overdoses because they thought they were taking, a Percocet that was prescribed to their friend, or an Adderall, and it's actually a synthetic form of fentanyl.
What are some of the ways that Hope Sheds Light is helping in person, either different events, obviously the Hope Sheds Light walk on the boardwalk that I know you guys have done in the past, but different meetings, different functions, mm-hmm. Different things that you guys do every month and throughout the year to help, certainly not just parents, but people who are actively struggling through an addiction to, first to try and come into the door and talk with somebody, but also try and find recovery in their own way as well.
So this is where we really want to make a point today for our for your listeners. We're really trying to promote recovery. So we're kind of following the model that Ron, Arvo, and Steve put out there as having them be the voice for families. All of our staff members are individuals who are in recovery and or a family member. A lot of them are parents who are now raising kids and they're in recovery. So we are offering just a whole calendar full of events, and the voice of our agency is the voice of individuals who are in recovery. Our services are peer-driven. So when you come to a support group on Tuesday night, we have families and individuals who come to the same support group, and they crosstalk and share. A mom might hear from somebody else's son who's now a couple years in recovery, and will share what it was like for him, and she can get some strength about what she's going through by listening to his story. So there's a lot of crosstalk. We offer a whole bunch of wellness programs. There's yoga. We do nature walks. We have program for young people. Same thing, teaching them, how introducing them to the concept of, this is the disease concept, so they're not ashamed of their parents, but also helping them with their own yoga, art, and way to express themselves. So we call it planting the seed of recovery. Addiction is a chronic disease. Most of the time you hear about the acute phase of it, what brought you to treatment, what was treatment like. But what our hope centers, our recovery centers are doing is diving into what recovery looks like. We're offering vocational training opportunities. I mean, there's just so much sober living support, getting people into sober living environments, giving them one-on-one recovery coaches that can help them build a plan, a recovery plan. Where do you see yourself in 2 years from now? How do you get there? And how do you build what we call your recovery capital in that process? So I'm so excited about, the long-term sustained opportunities. And recovery isn't just possible, it's probable if you build your pathway.
And what this really has been with Pam's help has been a dream come true for Ron and Arvo and I, because people can call if they're struggling. They can call our helpline. They can walk into our recovery centers, and we will help them find the kind of detox or find the kind of therapy that they need. Family members, when they call, we can schedule meetings with them. They can come to our family support meetings Tuesday night here in Toms River. We've opened one Thursdays, Thursday evenings, second and fourth Tuesday. Second and fourth Thursday of every month, and in Manahawkin, which I'm very proud about.
And we have a whole new location in Monmouth County now.
That's exactly right. So the dream has been not just to help people into treatment, but what happens then, as Pam spoke so well about. Recovery is so real, and it can be real for anybody as long as they don't try to do it themselves. So all of these programs and all of our efforts are designed to let people know that they're loved, that they're supported, that they shouldn't do this recovery thing alone, and be able to witness what recovery looks like through the eyes and through the good health of other people that are surrounding us.
We have a really big vision. We want we call them Hope Recovery Centers, and we want them to be a place where anybody in recovery or any family member, any community member impacted by this disease can come to, take a yoga class, right, or get an art, we call them sober sip and paints, just almost like YMCA, so to speak, mm-hmm. for people in recovery, where they can build a resume. They can, do a pop-up little spot if they're starting a jewelry business, whatever it is. We want it to be, mm-hmm. we want it to be their place to come to, their children's place to come to, where they don't have to be ashamed, and they can be proud of who they are and their recovery status, because again, we have to start looking at this as a chronic disease. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And the longer term piece of this disease is recovery, right, not addiction, not the acute treatment phase. The long term is the recovery term. And we also want to stop the generational cycle. Yes. So we bring kids in. My own granddaughter, she comes to all these programs because I want her to be proud of her parents. Mm-hmm. And she is proud of her parents. And I want that to continue. So that's what we're doing. We're planting the seed of recovery. We're offering a place for vocational training, health and wellness opportunities, self-care for the whole family.
Yeah, and I'm extremely proud of Hope Sheds Light and Pam and what has been built. I mean, these are the programs and the resources that weren't around when Steve and Arvo and I lost our sons. And I sometimes think if my son was still here today, and there was a Hope Sheds Light, maybe his disease would have been okay today. Mm-hmm. You just don't know, or in recovery. So I'm just proud to see this advancement and the resources that we're able to provide, not only in the community but in other counties now as well. You guys are doing great work, you, Ron, Steve, Arvo, and Pam, and continuing to grow as well. And thank you each for sharing your stories with us this morning. And please continue to do all the great work you're doing for so many people there in Ocean County and Monmouth County as well, and providing hope, certainly in what could be some dark times. So appreciate you coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Can I just tell you, we on June 11th, in Monmouth County at the Eatontown Sheridan, we have a conference, Cultivating Calm Through the Storm of Addiction. It's for family members. And on June 18th, back here in Toms River, we have a family barbecue, mm-hmm. Again, in our parking lot. So just go to our website, or it's pam@hopeshedslight.org. Just email me, and we can give you all that information.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you for adding that, Pam.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys having us in. We appreciate
Thanks.
Our pleasure.
Yes, and please, all three of you plus Arvo, please keep us posted on anything you guys got going on with Hope Sheds Light in the future.
We will.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Stay well.
More Short Time with Vin and Dave right after this.
Hi, this is high performance executive coach Dana Cavalier and former director of strength and conditioning for the New York Yankees. And you're listening to Shore Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. It's always great to hang with champions, and these two guys are champions.
Whether you're in the early stages of investing, getting ready to retire, or planning your estate, you need a financial planner who will guide you on a clear path with honesty and transparency. Shoreline Wealth Management provides clarity through the complexity with offices in Manchester and Manahawkin. Shoreline Wealth Management is your financial anchor. Visit shorelinewealth.com for more information and start your financial journey with comfort and security today. Shorelinewealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC.
Welcome back to Short Time with Vin and Dave. Vin Ebenau, Dave Crossan with you here as we wrap up hour number one of the show. We just had in Ron Rosetto, Steve Willis, and Pam Capaci from Hope Sheds Light, who has offices in Toms River and Manasquan, so helping people. It's all started in Ocean County, telling us their stories, their experiences, all the things that they do, different events, different discussions. And, Dave, I was thinking as well, because we've had Phil O'Hara on here,
right,
peer recovery specialist with Hazlitt's Hope Network, of course, Alicia Cook, mm-hmm. The author who, lost her cousin Jessica to a battle with heroin addiction years back. So I think it's important to continue to get the word out there, raise awareness, education, eliminate the stigma associated with getting help, and try to help people out there struggling with the disease of drug addiction find help, find those avenues, and feel comfortable getting help, and certainly helping their families and friends become more aware of the different options out there to help people find recovery.
You hit it right on the head, is that people understand they are not alone. Talking to people that have gone through similar struggles. Or the other piece to it too is family members of somebody that's going through this. How do they handle this for themselves, for the person that is trying to get better and recover? So important. And to your point is to make people aware, hey, there are different people out there, different places you can go to have this conversation, to start it. And when somebody's gone through something that you've gone through, I think it just makes it a lot easier. And the person can understand, hey, okay, this person was successful. I want to get to that place. This is how I'm going to do it.
And different levels, different situations for everybody. So sometimes recovery takes a long time, and that's
Correct.
okay.
And it's always ongoing. It's not like, here's a certain amount of time and you're done.
Yeah.
No, it's always,
be patient with it.
And it's a process.
It's okay.
It's a process, and you may have success, and then something may happen, but knowing that you have people that you can lean on and talk to when you're going through these tough times, that's crucial.
And Hope Sheds Light has, different discussions, different events going on, actually, including later on this morning as well in Toms River. They have a community hike coming up this morning at 10 a.m. over at Caddis Island County Park there. And so different events as well in Ocean County, in Monmouth County, different options, different meeting groups and everything. You could check them out at hopeshedslight.org, hear more about them, see what's going on, and reach out.
Absolutely.
If you're in need of help or services, reach out. If you know somebody who is, even if you're just somebody in the community who wants to learn more about what they do, go attend one of these meetings or functions and everything. And everybody, we could all do a part to help.
Correct.
Curb the drug epidemic and help people find recovery.
There's a path.
So we got more of the show coming up next. We have Dave's Financial Wake-Up Call coming up to start hour number 2, and then Point Pleasant Beach Mayor Paul Knitra. More Short Time with Vin and Dave coming up next.
Hey, it's Chris Carlin from Rutgers Football and 98.7 ESPN in New York, and you're listening to Short Time with Vin and Dave on 94.3 The Point and 105.7 The Hawk. These fellas are entertaining.